Hello, students. It's Uncle C once again. I welcome you to our weekend classes. And today we are doing English language. And the aspect we are looking at is composition. The topic for discussion today is essays and letters writing. Essays and letters writing. My expectations after today's lesson is that learners will be able to differentiate between essays and letters. Learners will be able to differentiate between essays and letters. They will also be able to understand the three principles and utilize them when writing essays and letters. Learners will be able to understand the three principles and utilize them when writing essays and letters. They will also know the criteria for marking essays and letters. They will also know the criteria for marking essays and letters. Now, let's quickly dive into today's lesson. But before we do that, as you already know, the last time we met, I took learners through the criteria for marking essays and letters. And I remembered I taught you content, which is 10 marks, organization, which is 5 marks, expression, which is 10 marks, and mechanical accuracy, which is 5 marks. Learners, I encourage you to practice more. Practice more and understand these criteria because they are very critical when it comes to essays and letters. Now let's dive into today's lesson. So we are, first of all, you need to know the meaning of essay and the meaning of letters. Then after that, we can be able to deduce the differences between the two. Now, when we talk of essays are pieces of writing on a particular topic or subject. Essays are pieces of writing on a particular topic or subject. Letters are also pieces of writing on a particular topic or subject. Letters are also pieces of writing on a particular topic or subject. Now, from the definition or from the meaning I've just given you, you could see or you can tell that the meanings are the same. The meaning of essays and letters are the same. But when it comes to the implementation, that is where we have some differences. What I mean by implementation is that when you are writing an essay and when you are writing a letter, there are certain differences between the two. So let's look at them very fast. Now, letters have address. It could be address of the writer or address of the receiver. Address of the writer or address of the receiver. Now, essays do not have address. Now, letters also have subscriptions. Letters have subscription, whereas essays do not have subscription. Letters have subscription, essays do not have subscription. Now, another difference between letters and essay is that some letters, or to be more specific, formal letters have signatures of the writer. But essays do not have signatures. So when you are asked what are the differences between letters and essays, 1, letters have address, essays do not. 2, letters have subscription, essays do not have subscription. And then 3, some letters, or to be more specific, official or formal letters, they have signatures of the writer, but essays do not have signatures. So, learners, I hope you now know the differences between letters and essays. Now, let's continue. Now, when you are asked to write a letter or an essay, there are certain things that you should think of, or we call them principles. these principles, when you throw them away, when you throw these principles away, there is no guarantee that you will be able to get the full mark for either letters or essays. So these principles are very critical. Now, first of all, before you even think of starting the letter or the essay, let's look at some examples of letters and some examples of essays. Now, example of letter, or yes, some letters we do write fall within three categories. They fall within three categories. We have informal or friendly letters. We have semi-formal or semi-official letters. Then we have official or formal letters. So we have three different types of letters. So the example under that could be, write a letter to your uncle. Write a letter to your uncle giving reasons why you prefer a boarding to a day school. Write a letter to your uncle giving reasons why you prefer boarding to a day school. That is an example of a letter. Now let's go to essays. We have essays also have different types. We have descriptive essay, we have narrative essay, we have expository essay, we have argumentative essay. Now, descriptive essay, narrative essay, expository essay, and then argumentative essays. These are the four types of essays we have. Yes, at your level, these are the four types of essays we have. When you go upwards, there are several other types, but we are basing ours on the four types. So examples under these could be: describe yourself, describe your school, a day you will never forget, a day you will never forget, a teacher and a farmer, who is more important, a teacher and a farmer, who is more important, girl-child education is more important than boy-child education. So these are examples of essays. Now you can see the difference. These are the examples of essays. Now, let us now look at what to consider when writing an essay or a letter. What to consider when writing an essay or a letter. Now, these three principles, we have the principles are classified under three. So these three principles apply to both essays and letters. These three principles apply to both essays and letters. So let's look at them. The first thing to consider when writing a letter or an essay is who is the letter talking about, or who is the letter being written about. Who is the letter being written about, or who is the letter talking about? In other words, audience, the audience. So the example I gave under letter, write a letter to your uncle. So in this case, we can refer to your uncle as being part of the audience. Your uncle being part of the audience. That is who you are addressing the letter to. So who is the first thing to consider, which is the audience, who you are addressing the letter to, or who you are writing the letter to, or who the letter is about. Now, the next thing is language, or in other words, how. Now you know who you are writing the letter to. You are writing it to your uncle. Now, the next thing is how. Now that you know who the letter is being written to, the next thing to ask, or the next question to ask is, how am I now writing the letter? So the how is the language, or the tone of the letter. The how is the language or the tone of the letter. Now, don't forget, there are letters that are written to friends, which we call informal letters. There are letters that are written to people in higher authority, or people in reputable offices. Now, these are the two categories. So when we talk of the language, we are just simply referring to how is the letter going to be, or in what tone, language tone is the letter going to be. So in this case, a letter to your uncle, it's a semi-formal letter. It is a semi-formal letter. So here, the language will be official. Will be official because your uncle is of a higher class than you. Your uncle is of a higher class than you, so it's going to be a bit official and then a little bit of informal, but not so informal, because this is between formal and then informal, but not exactly formal. It is between formal and informal. That's why we call it semi-official letter. So the language tone will fall within formal and then informal. All right. Now that we know the language of the letter or an essay, the next thing to think about, the next principle to think about is the purpose. Purpose. The purpose is, what is the message? What is the message? What is the message? What is the letter going to, what is going to be the content of the letter? What is going to be the content of the letter? What is going to be the content of the essay? So that is purpose. So dear students, dear learner, dear listener, anytime you are writing a letter or an essay, before you even start writing, first think about these three principles. Make sure you find answers to these three principles before you even start writing. That is who, how, and what. Who, how, and what. Or in other words, audience, language, and then purpose. I believe you are following, and I promise you that as you practice this very often, you will become the best. Your essays and letters will be very interesting. They will be very informative, and they will be very educative. Thank you. Now let's proceed. So now that we know the principles, we move to the next thing, or the next important aspect, which I will keep saying anytime we are doing English composition. That is the criteria for marking. The criteria for marking, what we look for as educators when we are marking your essays and letters. That's number one, content. The content is 10 marks. And it talks about the number of words you are to write. The number of words you are to write. So for those in JHS, you write 250 words. Those in SHS is way more than 250 words. So the content talks about the number of words you are to write. Students, I encourage you that you take instructions in the English language paper and any other subject. So here in this case, if you are to write 250 words, you make sure you write exactly 250 words. Because when it falls under 250, you will not be able to get the 10 marks. You will not be able to get the 10 marks. Now the next thing is organization. Organization is the structure of the letter or the structure of the essay. So don't forget the example we are looking at. Write a letter to your uncle. This is a semi-formal letter. So the structure of this letter will be writer's address, date, salutation, introduction, content, conclusion, and then subscription. So this is the structure of this letter because it's a semi-formal letter. For essays, if it is essay, essays also have a structure. So we know that essays have the heading, the introduction, the content, and then the conclusion. The heading, the introduction, the content, and then conclusion. That is for essay. So under organization, that talks about the structure of the essay. Thank you. Now then we go to expression. Expression is also 10 marks. Now don't forget, organization is 5 marks, expression is 10 marks. Expression is the whole content of the essay or the letter. The whole content of the essay or the letter. The message that the essay or letter is communicating, that is the expression. And here there are rules that you must know as students. Your English, your formation of sentences must be correct. The tenses you use must be correct. No grammatical error. And your expression should be very excellent, should follow the rules and guidelines of the English language, particularly writing. All right. Now then, last but not the least is mechanical accuracy. Mechanical accuracy is 5 marks. 5 marks. So in all, you should be able to get 30 marks. 30 marks is the full mark for essays and letters. 30 good marks. So students, when you abide by these principles or these criteria, you'll be able to understand, you'll be able to implement, and then your essays and letters will be excellent. Now, quickly, organization it talks about the certain technical things you need to do in your essays and letters. The technical aspects of your essay and letters, that is what we call the organization. Now, one of them is punctuation, where full stop needs to be placed, where comma needs to be placed, and the writing of the letters of the alphabet very well. Those letters that have tails, you indicate. Those that are supposed to be written correctly, you write them correctly. I encourage you, and I know that as you do these things and you implement them, you practice all the time, your essays and letters will be very excellent. A quick wrap up of today's lesson. We looked at the meaning of essays and letters. We looked at the 3 principles to consider when writing essays and letters. And we also look at the criteria for marking, or the criteria for marking essays and letters, which is content, 10 marks, organization, 5 marks, expression, 10 marks, mechanical accuracy, 10 marks. Thank you very much. I give you all the best, or I wish you all the best, and I pray that all we are doing, you will be able to understand. From Uncle C and the CNC Education Consulting, we say, I equal to you all. If you have any questions, you send it to the comment section. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, CNC Edu Consult TVGH, and then CC Edu TVGH, CNC Edu Consult TVGH, and then CC Edu TVGH. You can reach out to us on +233 540 230 709, +233 540 230 709. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No vigne d'automne na segna gbesiada. Simele blona wo, ya siawo, simele blona wa. Ya te peso wonye, no vigne chwe, na chode dawa wome. Na trole wo jimelo, no vigne trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vigne trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime. Vide kawanye na wo novi, meneva nyigba siaji. Me vawo na reke na de lao, nubla nyito nenye, bedeka na vakula nyigbaji. Na yiwo wala gbolo, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime. Nevado wo wola fekume, le jana konta de waglombe dola nyiwezo. Alo me jesiwo, no vinye buti po legbe penke kiame. Na trole wo jimelo, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime, no vinye trole wo jimelo. Trole wo jime. lese efe gbegbe mega senji mewo wo chacha na trola wo jime menya chosi gbana o no vinye chwe na chode dowo me na trola wo jimelo no vinye trola wo jimelo trole wo jime no vinye trola wo jimelo trole wo jime no vinye trola wo jimelo trole wo jime no vinye trola wo jimelo trole wo jime. No vile sema afisi lelea sebe nyegbe na wo chachelo po jima do chosi gbono la menya chosi gbono yeah man reggae for cry